Hey guys, Hannah1 here. Welcome to day 1 of the 12 days of Scratchmas, where each day I am going to be showing you how to make a super simple Christmas themed minigame in Scratch. For day 1 we're going to be making a game called Snowman Swap, where you are given an example snowman, which then hides, and you then have to replicate the design of the snowman on your own version. And if you get it right, then you get a point. If not, the game ends. But before we jump into that, I do need you to do one thing. I need you to go down into the description and click the link to the blank template project. This has a bunch of the code for the main menu and some UI elements and stuff like that. And we will be using this for all 12 days of the Scratchmas challenge. So it's all going to be kept in one neat project and it's going to be super fun. But other than that, once you've got your blank project, let's dive right in. Okay, so once you have your blank project, we're going to go over to the Game Sprite 1 sprite, and we're going to go to the When I Receive Game Start function. This will happen as soon as you hit the play button to start the Snowman Swap game, and we need to fill in the if game is equal to 1 section of this. So the first thing we're going to do is go to variables, and then we're going to set game state to 0, and we're going to set countdown to 3. We're then going to go to the control tab and add in a repeat loop. We need this to repeat 3 times. Then we're going to drag in a wait 1 second block, and then we are going to change countdown by -1. Then we're going to copy everything that is in this, and we're going to change set game state block to be set game state to 1, and we're going to set countdown to 5, and we're going to change the number of repeats in the second loop to be repeat 5 times. Then we're going to go down to the my block section, then we're going to drag in a start game 1 time block, and we're going to set the time to be 10. So what this is going to do is when you hit start, there'll be 3 seconds where nothing really happens, just so you can orient yourself and doesn't throw straight in. And then it's going to show you the example snowman for 5 seconds, and then the game will start. We're now going to scroll down and find the define function for the clone block, and again we're filling in the game is equal to 1 section. So we're going to go to variables and drag in a set variable block. We need to set this value, or this val, to 0. Then we need a go to block. We want to set the values to be go to 0, 100. And we also need a switch costume to block, and we're going to switch costume to correct and drag that into there. And then we are going to create clone of myself. We then need another set this val block, and we're going to set this val to 1. And we're going to set another variable. We're going to set this type to be body. I'm going to drag both of these blocks into here. I'm going to just copy this and then remove those last 2 blocks from it. So we have the switch costume to block, which you want to set costume to be body 1. And we're going to go to -100 for the X value, and for the Y, we are going to -70. And then we can just drag that in. And we're going to copy everything from the set this type to body block. So we have all 4 of these blocks. And now we want to set this type to be head. And we're going to switch costume to head 1, and we're going to keep the X value the same, but the Y we want to be 6. We can just drag that in, and we're going to copy that all of those 4 blocks again, and this time we're going to set it to be hat, switching to hat 1, and for the Y value of this one we want it to be 30. We're then going to copy everything from the set this value to 1 block, so we have all of these. And now we're going to change it to be set this val to 2. And basically anywhere where we have the X value -100, we're just going to change it to be +100. Just like this. Nice and easy, and just drag that in afterwards. Now we need to go down to the lists section of this code here. And we're going to drag in a delete all of game info 1 block. Just duplicate that, and also have a delete all of game info 2 block, and drag both of those in. Then we're going to do an add thing to game info 1, and we're going to set this to be pick random 1 to 9. And then we are going to add 1 to game info 2. Duplicate those two blocks and change the second pick random number to 6. So it's pick random 1 to 6 to game info 1, and then add 1 to game info 2. Duplicate those two blocks again, this time setting it to be pick random 1 to 11. And just add those in. And that's everything we need for the clone script. So as you can see, we have 2 snowmen appearing. And now we need to go to the when I start as a clone script. And again, we're filling in the if game is equal to 1 section. So the first thing we're going to do is drag in an if-else statement into that, and we're going to then drag in an equals operator into the condition space, and we're going to set it to be if this val is equal to 0, and then we're going to drag another if-else control block into the if portion of that and set it to be if game state is equal to 3. And then we're going to just have it say switch costume to correct and show. Then we're going to duplicate the if game state is equal to 3 if else function and set it to be if game state is equal to 4. Put that into the else portion and change the switch costume block to be switch costume to incorrect. And then in the else portion of that, just hide. And this will just give us some UI to show whether or not you correctly matched this 2 snowmen or not. So then into the empty else portion we have here, we're going to drag in another if-else function. And we're going to set the condition of this to be if this val is equal to 1. Then we're going to drag another if-else function into the if portion of that. And we're going to drag an or operator into the condition space. We want one side to be if game state is equal to 0, or if game state is equal to 2. Then we're going to switch costume. Just drag that into the if portion, and then we're going to add a join operator into that and set the join operator to be join the variable this type and a question mark. Then in the else portion we're going to add another if else function and set it to be if this type is equal to hat. Then we can switch costume. Again, we need a join operator. So we switch costume to join hat. And then we want to go down to the variables tab and find item 1 of game info 1. We can duplicate this if else function and drag that into the else portion. Set it to be if this type is equal to head. And then set it to be switch costume to join head item 2 of game info 1. And else we want to switch it to join body item 3 of game info 1. This just means that the first snowman will either be hidden in certain game states, and in other game states will display the snowman that is dictated by the first game info list. And then in the final empty else function, we want to add in an if else function. We're just going to copy this if game state is equal to 0 or game state is equal to 2 condition and change the second one to be if game state is equal to 1 instead of 2. And then we're going to switch costume to join this type question mark. We can just copy that from the other code section. So we're going to just copy this entire if else function if this type is equal to section. And then just anywhere where we have game info 1, we're just going to switch that over to be game info number 2. And I also want to give the players some feedback when they mouse over it when they are able to click the snowman. So we're just going to drag in another if else function, and we're going to set the condition to be if touching mouse pointer, which is under the sensing tab. And we also actually want to put this into the one side of an AND operator, and for the other side we're going to set this to be if game state is equal to 2. And in this case we're going to drag in a set size 2 block, and we want this to be 103, so it's only going to grow a very tiny bit, so it's not much of a difference. But we're also going to set the brightness effect of this to be 10. We can then copy these two, and for the else portion we just want it to be set size to 100 and set brightness effect to be 0. So we can just add that in. And I'm just going to drag it into the else function just above this if else function we already have in there. So now the clone for the other snowman will also display the correct costume. We need to be able to switch between the different snowmen costumes for the second sprite. So we're going to scroll until we find the when this sprite is clicked script. And for this section, we're going to drag in an if function without the else one, so just a regular if function. For this one, what we're going to do is we're going to drag in an and operator, and we're going to set one side to be if this val is equal to 2, and if game state is also equal to 2, which means you're in a state where you're able to select the different costumes. And in this portion, we need an if-else function with the condition if this type is equal to hat. Then we're in the if portion of that, we're going to add another if-else function with the condition being if item 1 of game info 1, so you need to go down to the variable section, drag in an item 1 of game info 1, and if that is equal to 9, then we're going to replace item 1 of game info with 1. Else, we want to replace item 1 of game info 1, go to the operators and drag in an addition operator. Set that to be item 1 of game info 1 plus 1. We can then duplicate this entire if else statement and change it to be if this type is equal to head. Actually, this should always be game info 2, sorry. So we need to change anywhere I have game info 1 to be game info 2. That was my mistake. So yeah, we need it to be if item 2 of game info 2 for the head section. So anywhere I have item 1, change it to be item 2. And for the if portion, we need it to be if it's equal to 6 instead of 9. Then we can copy this if else function from this section, drag it into the empty else section, change all of the if item 2 of game info 2 to be item 3. And then we can change the condition to be if it's equal to 11. And this will allow us to cycle through all of the different costumes and like variations for the different parts of the snowmen. And we also need to go all the way up to the top where you'll find this define start game 1 time script. And then under this, what we need to do is set game state to be 2 and set countdown to be time. Then we're going to add a repeat loop, repeating time seconds, wait 1 second, then change countdown by -1, just like we did it in that first script earlier, if you remember that. Then we need an if-else function, and we need this to be if game info 1 is equal to game info 2. So if all of the items in game info 1 are the same as in game info 2, then what will happen is we want to change score by 1. We want to set the game state to be 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag in a delete all of game info 1 block and then add thing to game info 1. We need this to be pick random 1 to 9. Duplicate that, add pick random 1 to 6. And pick random 1 to 11. Then we're just going to copy all of this and remove the final if-else function and just drag that in underneath. We want to set game state to 1, set countdown to 5, and repeat 5 times. And then we are going to start game 1, time 10. And if you wanted to change how long the player has, like for each round, like to make it easier or harder, all you have to do is change the time in the time section. So if you want to give the player a little bit longer, you can set time to say 15 or 20. If you want to make it really, really difficult, you could decrease it to be like 4 or 5. And if you really wanted a challenge, what you could do is have it be that the higher the player's score gets, the less time they have. So you could try doing something like that if you want a bit of an extra challenge. But for this empty else function we have here, all we need to do for this is set game state to 4. Then we're going to wait 3 seconds. Then we're going to set game to none, so just the word none, and we are going to broadcast main menu. This will just end the game if the player gets the challenge incorrect. A little mistake, we need to remove this show block and put it before the forever loop. I don't know how it wound up in there. And I misspelled body, that's another mistake I need to do. I also forgot that we need a wait 3 seconds block before the delete all of game info 1 block in this section. Just a few mistakes I made whilst coding this, sorry. So now we should be able to test it and have a fully functioning game. So let's see, we have the green bobble hat, the smiley face and the blank body. We have the green body. Keep missing it now. Green bobble hat. Oh, didn't quite have time to do it, but you can see that like this is all functioning. So if we try again, see if I can get it right this time. So we have the blue top hat, the orange scarf, and the face with the round nose. So this should be correct, I believe, if my memory serves. Yeah, we got it right, and we get a point, and it has a brief second, and then it starts over again. So you can see that this is working. So what we're going to do now is quickly add in a few sound effects. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a correct sound effect into under the start game 1 time section. In the if game info 1 is equal to game info 2 section, we're going to start sound correct. And then in the else portion, we can start sound incorrect. And then if we go down to the when this sprite is clicked script, we can just quickly add in a page 1 sound in the if this value is equal to 2 and game state is equal to 2 section. And that's just a couple basic sound effects to make the entire thing feel a bit more responsive and alive, and I think that really helps bring everything together. But apart from that, that is the end of our project for day 1 of the 12 days of Scratchmas. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you were able to follow along. I know I made a few errors and that might have confused things a bit, but I do hope that I was able to clear everything up. But apart from that, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did. It lets me know that this is something I want to see more of. I know it's a bit of a different style, so if you like this more live, interactive way of doing things, then please let me know. And I'll see you tomorrow with day 2 of the 12 days of Scratchmas. Bye!